Have you ever found yourself standing in the middle of your living room, calling your child's name, only to be completely ignored? Or maybe you've asked them to do something simple, like clean their room or turn off the television, and instead of complying, you're met with eye rolls, sarcasm, or even outright defiance. These moments can feel like emotional punches to the gut, especially when they come from the very people we love the most. Our children, as parents, we pour our hearts, our time, and our energy into raising our children. So when we feel neglected, dismissed, or disrespected, it's only natural to feel frustrated or even deeply hurt. But here's the critical truth. How we respond in those moments can either deepen the rift or begin to bridge. If you've ever wondered how to manage your child's disrespect without losing your temper, or how to deal with the silence and distance they sometimes put between you and them, this guide is for you. You'll discover a grounded, 6-step method that can transform the way you relate to your children. It's not a magical formula, and it won't work overnight, but with patience and consistency, it can lead to long-term harmony and mutual respect in your family. Now let's take a deep breath and dive in. Step 1. Control your emotions before responding. Your initial reaction to being ignored or disrespected might be anger, and that's completely normal. But remember, feeling angry doesn't mean you have to act angry. The first step in managing difficult interactions with your children is not about them. It's about you. When emotions surge, take a pause. Breathe deeply. Center yourself. Why? Because your emotional state sets the tone for the entire exchange. If you allow yourself to spiral into yelling or threatening, you're likely to escalate the situation, not resolve it. On the other hand, when your child sees you remain calm and composed, even in the face of their rebellion, they're subconsciously being shown how emotional maturity works. Staying calm doesn't mean you're suppressing your feelings. It means you're choosing to channel your emotions constructively. You're not ignoring the disrespect. You're just not letting it control you. By practicing emotional regulation, you become a role model for your child. They learn that even when things go wrong, it's possible to stay composed. And over time, that lesson will stick. Step 2. Show understanding without surrendering authority. Once you've centered yourself, resist the urge to dive into discipline or scolding. Instead, become curious. Ask yourself, why is my child behaving this way? Could they be feeling overwhelmed? Are they facing something at school, with friends, or within themselves that they don't know how to articulate? Children and teens often express inner distress through outward behavior. They might not even realize they're being disrespectful. They're just acting out their confusion or insecurity in the only way they know how. This doesn't mean you should tolerate bad behavior, but approaching the situation with empathy rather than ego can open the door to meaningful dialogue. You might say, I noticed you didn't respond when I asked you to help earlier. Is something going on? This question invites reflection without accusation. It tells your child, I see your behavior, but I care about what's behind it. Empathy is not weakness. It's the bridge that connects your authority to their humanity. Step 3. Set clear and calm boundaries. Once you've acknowledged your child's feelings and gained insight into what might be going on beneath the surface, it's time to reassert your role. Not with force, but with clarity. Children need structure to thrive. They may push against boundaries, but those limits also give them a sense of safety and predictability. Calmly explain your expectations. For example, it's okay to feel upset, but ignoring me or speaking disrespectfully isn't acceptable in this house. Let them know there will be consequences if boundaries are crossed, but don't threaten. Simply state the outcome in a composed, consistent tone. If you continue to speak to me like that, you'll lose access to your phone this evening. This isn't about power. It's about principle. And when you apply consequences with fairness, not fury, your child begins to understand that every action carries weight. Boundaries, when communicated with compassion and consistency, don't push children away. They pull them closer to a reality where respect is mutual. Step 4. Be the example you want to see. Children are far more likely to mirror your behavior than your words. They might ignore your lectures, but they're always watching how you respond under stress, how you talk to others, and how you carry yourself. Want them to listen? Show them you listen. Want them to be respectful? Be respectful. Even when it's hard, in every interaction, ask yourself, am I behaving in a way I'd want them to copy? If you yell in frustration, they'll learn that anger is the loudest voice, that if you interrupt or dismiss their opinions, they'll do the same. But if you show patience, model kindness, and admit your own mistakes, you give them permission to do the same. When they see you living the values you preach, they're more likely to trust, follow, and respect you. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Step 5, build connection beyond conflict. Don't wait for a crisis to communicate. Strong relationships aren't built in the heat of correction. They're nurtured in the calm of connection. Set aside regular, undistracted time to just be with your children. No agenda, no reprimands. Just presence. Go for a walk, cook together, play a board game, watch a movie, and discuss it afterward. These small moments build a strong emotional foundation. And when your relationship is strong, discipline becomes easier. Not because they fear you, but because they respect the bond you've built. Children who feel loved, seen, and valued are less likely to rebel for attention. When respect grows out of connection, it becomes natural, not forced. Step 6, allow space for reflection after addressing the behavior. Step back. Give your child time to process what was said and how it made them feel. Don't demand instant apologies. Don't expect overnight change. Growth takes time. And sometimes what you said won't land right away, but it will sink in eventually. Your calm delivery and consistent standards will echo in their minds long after the conversation. In step B, why giving them space to reflect, you invite internal motivation rather than external pressure. They begin to make better choices, not out of fear of punishment, but from a growing sense of self-awareness and responsibility. True respect is not forced, it's earned and chosen. Final thoughts. Wisdom for the long road. Parenting is not a sprint. It's a long, winding marathon filled with highs and lows, progress and setbacks. And just like any important relationship, it requires grace, both for your children and for yourself. Here are a few final pieces of wisdom to keep in your heart. Let go of the small battles. Not every provocation deserves a response. Sometimes, walking away is the most powerful move you can make. Involve your children in decisions. When they feel their opinions matter, their sense of responsibility deepens. Acknowledge growth. Don't just correct mistakes. Celebrate improvements, however small. Apologize when needed. If you overreacted, admit it. Your humility teaches them that no one is above growth. Stay consistent and patient. Even if you don't see results right away, your calm presence is doing more than you think. That you've got this. If you're still reading, it means you care deeply, and that alone makes you an exceptional parent. You're not seeking control, you're seeking connection, and that is the heart of transformative parenting. When your child ignores you or acts disrespectfully, remember, you are the steady ground beneath their unsteady feet. By leading with calm, understanding, and consistency, you're shaping not only their behavior, but their character. This journey is not about perfection. It's about presence, not about control, but about connection. Keep going. You're doing better than you think. And if this guide helped you, consider sharing it with someone who might need it too. Because every parent deserves to feel supported, and every child deserves to be seen. In the previous part, we explored 6 foundational steps to manage disrespectful behavior from children with calmness and emotional intelligence. Now, in this second part, we will deepen that understanding by expanding into more complex and nuanced areas of parenting. We will examine how to develop emotional intelligence, both as a parent and within your children, how to build and maintain long-term trust, how to foster mutual respect, not only during conflicts, but in daily interactions, and how to create a lasting legacy of open communication, emotional safety, and resilience. Let us begin by addressing one of the most essential but often overlooked skills in parenting: emotional literacy. Emotional literacy refers to the ability to recognize, understand, label, express, and regulate emotions. When parents model emotional literacy consistently, they create an emotionally safe space for their children to learn and grow. This does not mean that a parent must always remain emotionally neutral. but rather that they must express their feelings in ways that are constructive and clear. For example, instead of yelling or withdrawing when disappointed, a parent can say, "I feel hurt when I am not listened to because it makes me feel unimportant." This kind of expression allows children to learn how to identify their own emotional states and eventually to verbalize them rather than act them out in defiance or withdrawal. Teaching emotional literacy is not a one-time conversation. It is an ongoing process that is best taught through consistent modeling, thoughtful correction, and deep listening. One practical way to encourage this development is through what is often referred to as emotion coaching. When a child experiences a strong emotion, such as frustration after a poor grade or rejection by a peer, instead of minimizing or dismissing the emotion, the parent can help the child explore and name it. "It sounds like you're really disappointed and maybe even embarrassed. That's okay. Those are normal feelings, and I'm here for you." This process teaches children that their emotions are valid, manageable, and worthy of attention. Over time, this kind of response builds emotional resilience, reduces the likelihood of acting out, and strengthens the parent-child bond. As emotional intelligence grows, trust becomes the next pillar to develop. Trust is the invisible bridge that allows communication, discipline, love, and guidance to flow freely. It is fragile and cannot be demanded. It must be earned and continually maintained. Children learn to trust their parents not through words alone, but through actions. Keeping promises, being consistent with rules and consequences, being available emotionally and physically, and most importantly, listening without judgment are all ways to reinforce trust daily. When a child trusts a parent, they are more likely to share their inner world, seek guidance during difficult times, and respond with cooperation instead of resistance. One of the biggest trust killers in parenting is unpredictability. When a parent's response to similar behavior varies wildly based on their mood, stress levels, or other external factors. This instability confuses children and causes them to walk on eggshells, fearing either outbursts or indifference. Instead, strive to be predictably compassionate and consistent. This does not mean being permissive. It means setting limits with clarity and kindness. Alongside trust is the crucial value of respect. Respect, like trust, is not something that can be commanded. It must be modeled, taught, and nurtured over time. Many parents fall into the trap of demanding respect without giving it, assuming that age or authority alone entitles them to obedience. But true respect is reciprocal. It grows in an environment where the child feels seen, heard, and valued. Respect begins with small daily gestures, making eye contact when your child speaks, giving them time to express themselves, apologizing when you make a mistake, and acknowledging their feelings even when enforcing discipline. Over time, these behaviors teach children that respect is a two-way street. They learn that while authority must be honored, so too must dignity. Creating a legacy of communication begins when parents treat conversations with their children not as lectures, but as dialogues. Dialogue implies listening with the intent to understand, not merely to reply or correct. When children know they can talk about anything without immediate punishment or judgment, they are more likely to speak openly. This kind of environment allows for deeper conversations about values, fears, dreams, and identity. It also opens the door for parents to guide rather than control. When children feel understood, they are more likely to adopt family values voluntarily rather than resentfully. Another important topic in this extended journey is how to manage the challenges of adolescence, a phase often characterized by emotional turbulence, defiance, and a quest for independence. Many parents experience this time as a breaking point in a relationship, but it can be a turning point instead if approached with empathy and flexibility. Adolescents are not only undergoing hormonal changes, but also constructing their identities. They crave both autonomy and connection. Striking this balance requires parents to gradually shift their role from manager to mentor. This means offering guidance and boundaries while also stepping back to allow natural consequences to teach valuable life lessons. Avoid micromanaging and instead invite responsibility. Ask questions like, What do you think is the best way to handle this situation? Or what are the pros and cons of the choice you're considering? Encouraging problem solving strengthens critical thinking and self confidence. Likewise, when your adolescent violates a boundary, use the moment not as an opportunity to scold, but to reflect. Ask what led you to this choice, and what do you think you could do differently next time? This approach avoids shaming and builds accountability. Encouraging accountability is another powerful parenting tool that goes hand in hand with respect. When parents demand perfection, children either become anxious overachievers or disengaged rebels. But when parents create space for reflection and learning, children grow in confidence and responsibility. Acknowledge their mistakes as opportunities for growth, not as reasons for shame. Instead of asking, "Why did you do this?" which often feels accusatory, try asking, "What do you think happened here? And what can we learn from this?" Children who are raised with this approach develop not only emotional intelligence, but also moral reasoning, self-awareness, and a deeper sense of personal integrity. Let us now explore how to handle sibling conflicts, an area that challenges even the most emotionally intelligent households. Sibling rivalry is natural, but how parents respond determines whether it becomes destructive or constructive. First, avoid taking sides. Instead, be a facilitator who encourages each child to express their viewpoint respectfully. Use reflective language like, "So you're saying you felt left out when your sister didn't include you? And you're saying you wanted some alone time and felt pressured?" Helping siblings see each other's perspective builds empathy and reduces hostility. Establishing family rituals, like weekly family meetings, can provide a regular space to resolve tensions, celebrate wins, and reinforce family values. During these meetings, invite every member to share something that's going well and something they'd like to improve. These gatherings are powerful tools for collective problem solving, open communication, and shared vision. Another related topic is the power of storytelling in parenting. Parents can use stories, both personal anecdotes and fictional parables, to teach values, explain complex emotions, and inspire resilience. Children are more likely to remember a story than a lecture. Share a time when you struggled with something and how you overcame it. Let your children see your vulnerabilities and humanity. This creates a bridge of empathy and helps them see that growth is a lifelong journey, not a standard they are failing to meet. Lastly, let us consider the importance of self-care in parenting. A depleted parent cannot parent well. You must fill your own emotional, physical, and spiritual cup if you are to guide your children with patience and clarity. Make time for rest, reflection, support, and joy. When your children see you prioritizing self-care, they learn that well-being is a worthy pursuit. It models healthy boundaries and emotional regulation. Remember that your example is your loudest teacher. In conclusion, the path to respectful, connected parenting is not paved with perfection, but with intention. Every act of patience, every moment of listening, every instance of calm correction adds up. Over time, you're not only raising children, you are building future adults who will one day mirror the emotional habits and relational values you practice today. Stay the course, trust the process, and never underestimate the quiet power of consistent, compassionate parenting. In Part 3, we will explore how to handle more advanced scenarios, including dealing with behavioral disorders, managing technology use, balancing discipline with freedom, and maintaining strong parenting practices during major life changes such as divorce, illness, or financial hardship. As we continue our deep exploration into conscious, respectful, and emotionally intelligent parenting, Part 3 will address more advanced and often more emotionally demanding scenarios. These include raising children in a digital age, handling behavioral and attention disorders, maintaining strong parental presence during divorce, illness, or financial hardship, and balancing freedom with discipline as children transition into adulthood. Parenting is not static. It evolves as our children grow, as society shifts, and as we ourselves change. The tools and wisdom explored so far must be adapted and expanded for these more complex stages of life. Let us begin with one of the most pressing concerns of modern parenting: Managing technology in a healthy, balanced way. The digital age. Teaching boundaries, focus, and presence. Today's children are growing up in a world saturated with screens. Phones, tablets, computers, and digital entertainment compete with parental voices, inner silence, and real-world experiences. While technology can be a powerful tool for learning and connection, unmanaged use can result in addiction, shortened attention spans, impaired empathy, and fragmented family relationships. To guide children effectively, parents must first set a strong example. It is difficult to ask a child to put away a device when they see their parents scrolling through a phone at dinner. Begin by creating tech-free rituals, shared meals, outdoor walks, or nighttime reading routines. Designate certain hours or zones of the house as screen-free, perhaps no screens in the bedroom or during meals. These boundaries must be consistent and explained with reasoning rather than control. For example, instead of saying, "Because I said so," try, "We're having device-free dinners so we can really connect with each other." It is also vital to discuss the content, not just the screen time. Engage with what your child is watching, playing, or reading online. Ask them to teach you about their favorite game or YouTube creator. This fosters trust and provides opportunities to talk about values, safety, and digital citizenship. Teach them how to think critically about what they see online, how to recognize manipulative content, and how to protect their mental health by taking regular breaks and unfollowing toxic influences. Let them know that their identity and worth are not defined by likes, views, or followers, but by their actions, kindness, and integrity. Behavioral and emotional disorders. Parenting with patience and strategy. Some children face challenges that go beyond typical developmental struggles. Conditions such as ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, anxiety, or depression. Parenting a child with behavioral or emotional disorders requires patience, tailored strategies, and often professional support. The key is to avoid labeling your child by their diagnosis. Instead, view the diagnosis as a lens that helps you understand how your child experiences the world. Children with ADHD, for instance, may struggle with impulsivity and focus, not because they are lazy or defiant, but because their brain processes information differently. Establishing routines, using visual schedules, breaking tasks into smaller steps, and using calm, non-reactive guidance can help reduce daily conflict. Praise effort more than results, and celebrate small victories that may go unnoticed in typical settings. For children with anxiety, the goal is not to eliminate fear, but to help them learn how to manage it. Encourage them to talk about their worries and validate their feelings. Model calm behavior during stressful moments and offer techniques like deep breathing, journaling, or gradual exposure to fears. Avoid overprotecting them, which can reinforce the idea that the world is unsafe. Instead, teach them resilience by saying things like, "It's okay to be scared and brave at the same time." Always involve mental health professionals when needed. Therapy, behavioral interventions, and sometimes medication can be life-changing, not only for the child, but for the entire family dynamic. And always remember, you are not failing as a parent because your child struggles. Your love, consistency, and willingness to adapt are the most important supports they will ever have. Parenting through life storms, divorce, illness, and financial stress. There are few parenting challenges more emotionally complex than guiding your children through family upheavals like divorce, a serious illness, or financial hardship. During these times, children need safety, clarity, and consistency more than ever. Let's begin with divorce. Even when handled amicably, divorce is a major transition that often creates confusion, sadness, or anger in children. The most powerful gift you can give your children during this time is the assurance that they are loved unconditionally by both parents. Do not involve them in adult conflicts. Do not use them as messengers or allies. Maintain routines to give them a sense of normalcy, and be open to answering their questions honestly, using age-appropriate language. Remind them often, this is not your fault, and both mom and dad still love you deeply. If you or a family member is facing a serious illness, children need both emotional support and truthful information. Shielding them entirely from what is happening often increases anxiety. Be honest but hopeful. Let them see that vulnerability and strength can coexist. Allow them to express fear and sadness, and show them by example how to keep living and loving fully in the face of hardship. Family rituals, spiritual practices, and counseling can be powerful anchors during these times. Financial difficulties, while often hidden, can also deeply impact children. They may sense tension even if they don't understand the cause. Talk to them in simple terms. We're making some changes right now to be more careful with our money, but we'll get through this together. Emphasize what remains stable: love, safety, and family values. Use the moment as an opportunity to teach gratitude, creativity, and resilience. In every hardship lies a chance to grow closer as a family and to model the kind of character that endures beyond comfort. Balancing freedom and discipline, guiding teens and young adults as children grow into teenagers and eventually young adults, the role of the parent transforms again. No longer is it about direct control, but about mentoring, trusting, and allowing more autonomy while still being a strong emotional anchor. This is one of the hardest transitions for many parents. Learning when to step in and when to step back. One powerful approach is to shift from being the enforcer to being the consultant. Invite your teen into decision-making conversations. Ask what they think is fair. Negotiate curfews, screen time, and responsibilities together. Let them help shape the rules they live by. This builds ownership and responsibility. When they make mistakes, allow natural consequences to teach the lesson, and be there to reflect with them afterwards. What do you think went wrong? And what would you do differently next time? At this stage, identity development is at its peak. Teens are questioning values, exploring new perspectives, and often challenging authority. Instead of fearing this, welcome it. It means they are thinking critically and seeking to become their own person. Your role is to stay connected without controlling. Let them know that your love is not dependent on their behavior or choices, and that your door is always open. For parents of young adults, the challenge is even more nuanced, especially when they're still living at home. Respect their independence while upholding mutual responsibilities. Don't infantilize them, but don't ignore your own needs either. Create agreements rather than rules, and continue to offer guidance when asked. Let them struggle sometimes. Let them fail safely. These are the final tests of your parenting, and the moments that help them build wings to fly. Legacy parenting. What will they remember? In the end, ask yourself not just, how can I make my child behave, but what kind of person do I want my child to become, and what example must I be to help them become it? Children will forget many of your words, but they will never forget how you made them feel. They will remember whether home was a place of peace or fear, whether their voice mattered, and whether love was something they had to earn or something they always had. Build a legacy of healthy, resilient, respectful humans. We must show them how to navigate life, not by protecting them from every hardship, but by walking with them through it, by listening more than lecturing, by teaching more with action than with words, and by being human ourselves, flawed, forgiving, and always learning. That I end this final and most profound chapter of our parenting journey. We look beyond tactics and strategies, beyond routines and discipline, and enter the realm of legacy, soul work, and healing across generations. Parenting is not merely about raising children. It is about evolving as human beings. Our parenting reflects the echoes of our past and shapes the contours of the future. To become the parents our children truly need, we must often confront the shadows of our own childhoods, break harmful intergenerational patterns, and commit to raising children not just with skill, but with soul. This part is not just a guide. It is an invitation to look deeply into the roots of your own story, to honor both the pain and wisdom of those who came before, and to choose a conscious, loving path forward that transforms not only your family, but the world that your children will one day inherit. Healing the inner child, reparenting ourselves to parent others. So many of our parenting reactions come not from the present moment, but from the wounded parts of ourselves that were formed in our earliest years. Perhaps you were raised by a parent who was emotionally unavailable, overly critical, controlling, neglectful, or even abusive. Perhaps you grew up with chaos, fear, or unpredictability. These experiences leave imprints, silent instructions about love, safety, worth, and power that we often unknowingly pass on to our own children. The work of healing begins when we recognize that our triggers, those moments of disproportionate anger, shame, or fear, are messages from our inner child asking to be heard. When your child disobeys, are you truly responding to the moment? Or is your abandoned younger self reacting to the old terror of being unloved or rejected? To reparent yourself is to become the compassionate, wise caregiver you once needed. This means learning to speak gently to yourself when you make a mistake, honoring your own emotions instead of suppressing them, setting healthy boundaries, and building self-worth that does not depend on productivity or perfection. When we offer ourselves the care we never received, we no longer demand that our children carry our emotional burdens. We can see them for who they are, not as extensions of our pain or unfinished dreams. And in doing so, we break the chain, breaking generational cycles. From survival to flourishing, every family passes down patterns, ways of speaking, reacting, loving, or avoiding love. Some are gifts, a strong work ethic, a reverence for education, a fierce loyalty. Others are wounds disguised as norms, silence instead of truth, control instead of connection, achievement over authenticity. That break, a harmful generational pattern, is an act of both rebellion and reverence. Rebellion, because you dare to say, "This stops with me." Reverence, because you recognize that your ancestors did the best they could with what they knew, and now you know more. Ask yourself, what patterns am I unconsciously repeating? Do I yell because that's the only way I was heard as a child? Do I ignore emotions because no one ever helped me name mine? Do I punish my children for expressing the very traits that I was shamed for? This awareness does not come easily. It often involves grief, the grief of realizing what you missed, what was never safe to express, and how deeply your coping mechanisms have become your personality. But through this grief comes the clarity to do better, to parent with intention instead of instinct, to choose presence over perfection, to say, "I will not pass this pain forward. I will become the parent I needed, so my child doesn't have to heal from me." Emotional safety and soul growth. Creating a sanctuary at home. May truly thriving child is not one who is merely well-behaved or high-achieving, but one who feels deeply safe to be their authentic self. Emotional safety is the soil from which confidence, creativity, empathy, and resilience grow. It is the invisible force that tells a child, "You are safe to feel. You are safe to fail. You are safe to be fully, wildly, wonderfully you." This kind of safety cannot be faked. It is created moment by moment in the way we respond to tears, tantrums, and mistakes. It is born in the sacred space of listening without fixing, holding without judging, guiding without shaming. Create rituals of connection that nourish the soul. Bedtime stories where your voice becomes a lullaby of love. Morning affirmations that remind them of their worth. Family circles where every member, no matter how small, has a voice and a vote. Let your home be a place where vulnerability is strength, where emotions are not problems to solve, but signals to explore, and where the human spirit is not domesticated but celebrated. In such a home, your child does not just learn how to succeed. They learn how to live with integrity, kindness, and courage. The sacredness of parenthood. A spiritual path. Parenting is often described in practical terms: roles, responsibilities, routines. But it is, at its core, a sacred spiritual path. It is a journey that invites you to face your ego, surrender control, and become more loving than you ever imagined possible. When you view parenting through a spiritual lens, every moment becomes a teaching. Your child is not just a dependent being to raise, but a soul here to teach you as much as you teach them. Their honesty, sensitivity, playfulness, and raw emotions are mirrors, revealing your own depths and edges. The sleepless nights become meditations. The meltdowns become opportunities for compassion. The mistakes become prayers for humility. The ordinary becomes divine. Whether you follow a formal spiritual path or simply seek deeper meaning, allow parenthood to expand your soul. Let it refine you, strip away what no longer serves, and open your heart wider than ever before. Each act of patience is a prayer. Each hug, a benediction. Each apology, a sacrament. And know this, your parenting will echo for generations. Your courage to heal, to love consciously, to raise whole humans, this becomes the inheritance. Not the wealth, not the status, but the legacy of emotional freedom and sacred connection, from parenthood to elderhood. The final role of the guide as your children grow and begin to build lives of their own, your role shifts once again, from nurturer to mentor, from guide to witness. The goal is no longer to direct their every step, but to walk beside them with quiet strength and unconditional presence. This stage can be bittersweet. There may be grief in letting go, in watching them make mistakes, in no longer being the center of their universe. But there's also great joy, the joy of seeing them live with integrity, follow their own path, and build on the foundation you gave them. Your wisdom becomes your greatest gift. Share your stories. Speak truth without imposing it. Hold space for their own becoming. And know that your work is not finished. It simply evolves. The seeds you planted now bloom in ways you may never fully see. But they are blooming, and your love is the sun that still warms them. Even from afar, the final blessing for every parent, to every mother, father, grandparent, guardian, and soul who has walked the parenting path. May you be gentle with yourself, knowing that perfection is not the goal. Presence is. May you trust that love, even when messy, is never wasted. May you have the courage to heal, to grow, and to break the cycles that no longer serve. May you create a home that is a sanctuary, not of silence, but of truth. May your children rise not in fear, but in freedom. And may the story of your family become one of compassion, courage, and grace, a story that heals not just your own lineage, but the world your children will shape. This is the great work. This is the sacred journey. And you are not walking alone.